Ford calls this Maverick the Lobo, or the Wolf, but it's more like, well, just the Maverick putting on a pair of running shoes, because this is a sports truck. Hello, my name is Jimmy, and this, of course, is the 2025 Ford Maverick Lobo, a sportier spin on Ford's compact truck. The regular Maverick is all about being practical and efficient, but the Lobo, this one shows up like it wants to run every grocery run like an autocross. So let's go over what the Lobo is all about, starting with the looks. For 2025, every Maverick gets an update. We get newer headlamps. For the Lobo specifically, different grille and front bumper. On the side, we get 19-inch turbofan wheels, and behind the front, at least, we get dual piston brakes from the European Focus ST. Specific Lobo badging right here on the fender. Proximity door locks on the front doors, but sadly not on the rear. Up top, you can either get a black colored or white colored roof to pair with this Velocity blue that we got here. Of course, being the sports truck that it is, we got slightly tinted tail lights. They are incandescent, not LED, but that's typical Maverick, isn't it? And just like typical Maverick, no, you do not get a damn tailgate, but that's fine. If you really need a damn tailgate, I'm sure there's aftermarket options. 4.5-foot bed, as you typically would get, pretty standard stuff. However, for the Lobo, the payload capacity drops to 1,045 pounds, and towing, that's only up to 2,000 pounds. So yeah, it does have some of the bits from like the 4K tow package. It can't tow 4,000 pounds like some of the other Mavericks. But in here, you get your cubby on one side and an outlet on the other, so you can power different things with your Maverick. But let's head inside. Back here, space is actually decent. I got enough headroom. Knee space is a little limited. I'm like right against the front seat, but my feet can slide underneath the seat, so you know what? I'm not gonna complain. Sure, I don't get heated seats or even vents back here, but I do get a USB port, as well as a household outlet right beside it. And if I wanted to, I can 3D print things to have like cup holders or whatever right in the center. It's not bad. Sure, materials are less to be desired, but you know what? For a truck, absolutely fine. I even get cup holders in the center with an armrest, something that, well, many other vehicles don't get. And the backrest isn't like fully upright like some pickups. There's actually a decent amount of recline on here. So, you know what? It's all positives back here. And if you're thinking of carrying kiddos back here, I am a child passenger safety technician, and I do want to show you exactly how well child seats fit. On the driver's side, I have a Collect Link infant seat, and that's, well, no problems at all. I can fit this very easily, and the infant carrier can slide into the cabin with ease thanks to these wide opening doors. On the passenger side, I have a Collect Fünf, which is a rear-facing child seat, and once again, no problems fitting these child seats inside the cabin, making this actually quite spacious. Unfortunately, you cannot fit a third in the center. It's just not wide enough. What I do have to note, because of the upper anchors are behind the seats, it does make it a little bit difficult for you to install forward-facing seats, especially if you have multiple, or if you need to take the seat out. You have to get everyone out of the cab first before you're able to do so. Moving up front, these seats are nice and supportive. They only have two-way lumbar support, but you know what? For most, I think it should be fine. The stitching on here, though, that is quite nice. And I do like the Lobo that's stamped right in the center, just to make it feel a little bit more special. In front, pretty typical Ford steering wheel. You got all the buttons that you normally would have on the side. You also get paddle shifters behind. The only difference really here is the stitching that's on the inside, very similar to like the seats and the armrest. Do like that. Behind, because it is a 2025 model, we get an updated digital cluster here. Gone are the analog dials from yesteryear. Now we have basically a digital screen. I don't hate it. However, I also didn't mind the analog dials of yesteryear. Actually felt like that was completely fine for a truck like this. This, you know what? I'm not going to complain, other than the fact the fuel indicator, don't like segmented fuel indicator. It's like you got one bar, but what does one bar really tell you? Luckily, there is a distance to empty on the bottom right, so you can rely on that. In the center, also a big update for 2025 is this 13.2-inch infotainment screen. Powered by Sync 4. There's wireless CarPlay, Android Auto, has all the things that you naturally would expect. Yes, even XM radio. The only thing is, because they put the bigger screen, they're like, well, we don't need that many buttons anymore, because they completely killed the climate control. No longer do you get the dedicated climate control just on the bottom. It's now all part of the screen. Some may like that, some may not. I mean, that's really up to you. Personally, I set my climate to like 20 or so, and I just leave it there. So it's not that big of a deal, but I definitely do understand, for a truck buyer at least, having physical buttons, it's easier than just going through a screen. And the button layout, while there are definitely a few just down below, it's a little bit weird, as this is the top trim. So you got like the Pro Trailer Assist, heated seats, and all that stuff. The volume button is like moved to the far right. And then the Pro Trailer and the Start Stop button, I feel like some people is going to get that confused every now and then. However, I think once you kind of get used to it, it's not that bad, but it's definitely something that you got to get used to. Same with the interior. It's not like the most appealing interior in terms of materials, because this is not winning any awards, but it's going to stand the test of time. It's going to wear really well. Sure, you can't rest your elbow right on the top, but you get a section right underneath that is padded. For a truck, I think this is completely fine and very, very suited. Just like the powertrain, because underneath the hood, it's a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, 238 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. It's actually reduced from previous years at 250 horsepower due to some new gas particulate filters. If you're reading the spec sheet, one thing you find that it's a little bit odd is the Lobo, instead of an 8-speed auto, it gets a 7-speed. Now you might be thinking, oh, sports truck gets its own transmission. No, it doesn't, unfortunately. It's actually just the standard 8-speed. In fact, it has 8 gears in there, except the computer just skips second. So you get first, third in the normal truck, and that's completely fine. It's to reduce hunting, which I understand, especially for a sports truck. You're going to be on the lower gears a lot, and they just want to make sure that, well, it's a little bit more seamless. Driving around, it actually is quite seamless, and decent power too. This powertrain is very suited for this truck. I had the Maverick Hybrid before. Now, I love like a good, efficient truck. Don't get me wrong, but this sounds cool. Like, they put a little bit of work into just making the engine sound good. It's not a standard, like, just 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. This has a little bit of character in it. It's almost like, I don't know, they've been making Focus STs for a while, and there's a little bit of that just injected into this. Like, let's be honest, the Focus ST was a really, really fun hot hatch. It's a little sad that it's gone, right? However, this, I think this encapsulates enough of that where I don't miss it that much. I really don't. And it's almost as practical, right? Maybe your stuff will get a little bit wet, you know, if they're in the trunk or the bed area. But other than that, it's essentially a Focus ST. Now the question is, how does a Lobo drive? Well, it's not exactly Focus ST, but it's pretty good. The steering rack is quicker than that of the standard Maverick, so it feels a little bit more darty. However, because of the longer wheelbase that this is, it's only as darty as it can be. You definitely feel like it's a long vehicle, and you certainly feel that when like you're trying to do a U-turn. This is not a small, agile vehicle. But the trick diff that's in the back, well, it's able to split that torque. And, well, when you're accelerating hard into a corner, it does, well, push a decent amount of power to the outside wheel, getting you to turn. However, you don't really feel that too much on normal mode. In sport, especially in Lobo mode, which is only for track use, you definitely get a lot more of that. And that's what I like about the Lobo. It's fun. Like, Ford could have just made another car and just made it boring. Now, the regular Maverick is kind of there. It's not too special and it's fine. It's just a truck for those who need a truck. But I'm really happy to see that they made the Tremor, something that you can take off-road. And then they made this, the Lobo, a street truck. This Lobo name is doing so well for the brand that they moved it to the F-150. There's an F-150 Lobo coming out soon. It could be just me reminiscing, but a street truck from like the 90s, that was like really, really cool. So to see that again, I'm all down for it. I really am. What's the price of something like this? Well, depending on the trim and whatnot, it varies, of course. You can get into one just under 45,000 Canadian, or as specs, about 50,000 Canadian dollars. In the US, I think that's just shy of 37,000. And for what it is, for a sports truck that you can have a little bit of fun in, well worth it. Well worth it. Like, not everyone needs like an F-150. This is like such a perfect little truck. And comparing this to like the Santa Cruz, and I mean, there's rumors of other brands putting out small trucks like this because it makes sense. There's rumors of Toyota. The Ram actually has one that's not sold here in Canada, but small trucks make sense. Bring them back. In any case, I think I'm overly excited for a little Maverick. But let me know what your thoughts are. I mean, is this the cool truck of 2025? Like, sure, you can get like 1,000 horsepower Hummers, but is that really practical? This I feel like it is. You floor it. There's a little bit of that grunt. And you hear the blow-off valve. You hear the turbo noises. This is just fun. And for 50 grand, you kind of want a little bit of fun, don't you? In any case, thank you so much for watching this video. Like the video if you do. Subscribe if you want to see more. But I'll catch you next time. Take care.